Well, my dad was a pool player, pro pool player, and he played in the 50s and 60s. And he was in the same position as the pros are in now. They always looking for a sponsor. There's no real way to make money, and they're just constantly hunting a tournament or something. And I just realized that players have to have something more than every once in a while win, you know. Of course, there's a few players that make a lot of money. There's always that. But they're not making golf money or football money. So I devised this system that basically is very simple, and it's going to spread money to everybody, to a lot of people that play. And when you spread money to them, that will bring more players, will expand the business, and it could help the whole game a lot. I don't know that they wanted to be Tom Cruise. They wanted to be a pool player, maybe.
Yes.
And that's really why I focused on the pros, because the best thing that the whole business could do is make the pros make $500,000 each, all of them. Because if that becomes the case, which, you know, say in 10 years, if this system works, it could be possible that every pro player, 500 pro players are making $500,000 or $200,000 as an average. And you can have people pushing their kids into pool. And as soon as that happens, then the tables business gets bigger, the stick business gets bigger. But so far, there's no start to it. You know, everybody's kind of waiting for somebody to give them a lot of money to make a big tournament so they win $1 million. But that's not going to happen. It never happened for my dad. It's not going to happen now. And if there's $1 million prize, it'll probably be the guy that's next to you that wins it. You know, so it's just not something to wait for. I feel that what we're going to do is a better idea. This is going to be city teams that compete against each other, and there's going to be at least 6 players actively playing every game. But the team could have 10 or 12, 15 players. It's just that only the 6 that play will get paid at that point. So there's going to be a lot of competition within the team to get the game, and a lot of competition among when they play each other, because we're going to split the money from the pay-per-view 60-40. No, and that's what's good about it, actually, because when I was trying to figure out how to do this, you know, you always go to 8-ball or 9-ball that you're used to playing. And I realized that the best thing to do is play all of them, because there's always somebody who wants to see that game played or doesn't know how it's played, and they want to learn. And in our game, we're going to have the ability to play all the games pretty much. Some of them would take too long, like one pocket we really can't put into this because it'll take too long. It's basically 2 teams on one table and a race to 12. And the different teams put up the player, and the other team puts up the player they think can beat them, and they call the game. It only takes one table, too. So a room owner can have this tournament in their place and still have people playing on every other table. the most it'll take probably is 2 tables because they're close to each other. And that's good because it's not a big footprint for this game. And any room owner would put it in their place because they don't have to change their life. It's only a 3-4 hour game tops, or maybe 2-3 hour game tops.
No special balls?
No, because you're playing straight pool, or you're playing 8 ball or 9 ball or 10 ball. And
they could use the regular rule books?
They actually can pick their own rules. If they're calling the game, which if they lost the game before, the other team that wins had won the game, puts up the next player, and the team that lost gets to choose the player to put against them, and then that player picks the game. So not only can they pick the game, 8 ball, 9 ball, 10 ball, straight pool, which is a straight pool is a race to 16. Not only can they pick it, they can pick the rules. So if they want call ball, call safe, they can do it. Any rules that both teams understand. You can't make up your own rules. You have to use rules that are standardized somewhere.
In a book.
In some tournaments that both understand. Basically, in every region of the country, I feel that there can be 8 teams. I played baseball when I was young, and I didn't really know why. I was little. My parents were pushing me to play, basically because they wanted somebody to be able to play a game and make a lot of money. And baseball started like this. They kind of just went around and played each other, I think that if we're within driving distance of 8 teams, we could have 1 game a week, and every team would play once a month. And it could be done in different regions. It could be done near Chicago, near Los Angeles, anywhere in the city, anywhere in the country where they can find enough players to put these teams together. The problem, I guess, is the bigger the amount of teams, the harder that it's going to be to get the money. But there's enough players in this country that could make 200 or 300 pros millionaires if they just decide that they'll watch this. It's more like they have to decide that this is something they need, because when they become to that level, they want to have somewhere to go. Right now, there's nowhere to go. They can play their ass off, and what do? You go to the next tournament and hope you win against 45 other guys that are great, and you get one bad roll and you're knocked out, and you lose your $100 that you had to put in it. So I'm just saying that this could be a way to make a life for pool players, not just a way to make a tournament someday, for one guy to win. That's what some of the big tournaments are, even though they always tell you that they're going to go on forever. They don't, because they don't have the support. Nobody's going to put in that kind of money and hope they get it back. I'm not putting in that kind of money. I can't. And everybody out there is not putting in that kind of money. All they're talking about is a couple beer money, And if you look at it in the right way, you'll realize that you're supporting football, basketball, everything else by buying cable and everything. It's not free. You go to a game and you pay $20 for a hot dog. This, if you pay to watch these games, you will be actually supporting your future, because when you get to that point, or your kid gets to that point, there'll be a place to play. And I'm looking at trying to make careers for 20, 30 guys right now. that can be substituted as they get old, and $50 to $100,000 a year is a good amount of money to make. You look on the player money that's on AZ right now, and the 20th guy in the world is made $25,000 for the whole year. That's not good. Because everybody out there that works anywhere makes more than that, pretty much. So. Yeah, I do, because at that time they weren't making a lot of money, and they were traveling in buses, and it was a terrible life. I mean, even minor league teams now still have a terrible life because they don't make a lot of money. Even minor league teams now don't make a lot of money. I mean, I was a baseball player when I was young, and when I was playing, big money was $150,000 a year. Now it's 40 million, and it's only 20, 30 years later. It's quite a difference. And just has to do with how many fans there are. There's more people putting money into it. They would not pay these guys anything if they didn't make the money. So if you think that there's no need for fans, that's wrong. I mean, every sport needs fans. It's just certain sports have a bigger base. My theory is that we don't need anybody else. There's enough A, B, and open players in this country to make everybody rich if they just spend $10 a week. But getting them to do that is a problem. I have to get them to understand that if they do that, when they progress a little, they're going to have a place to play and make some money out of it. Right now, they can progress all they want. Who are they going to play? There's tournaments, but there's no guys living on these tournaments. I don't know anybody who's done more than break even over a certain amount of time, because you keep playing tournaments, you put in $100, so you lose that one. All right, you put in another $100, you lose that. You win the third one, you make $400, so you're up $100 after you work for like 24 hours 3 times. It's just it's an incredible amount of time you spend in a tournament to make whatever money. Even players that play for a week and make $2,000 or $3,000, people make that at their jobs. And these guys only do that once every 3 months or so. So it's not like in any way a steady job that you can count on, and that's the bad part of it. There's no way to be sure what you're going to do. Right.
They're the best at what they do.
But pool is somewhat boring compared to these other sports, and in a sense, it's not. I mean, I fall asleep watching soccer too. The fact is that soccer is probably the most boring game I've ever seen. You watch 10 guys run around and kick one ball, and they never score. And one of the reasons soccer is so boring is because they never explain anything. Every game I've ever seen, there's no statistics, there's no anything on anybody. It's just they assume how it's played. I don't know what offsides means in soccer. I've watched 20 games already, and I don't know what those little stickers are. So what my idea is to change what people are watching too. They're watching, right now they're watching games with a camera on a table, and that's it. Nobody really talking, nobody really that knows the players, saying anything about it. Sometimes they talk about things that aren't even in front of them. They'll talk about what they did that day, So I think that if I can make these games interesting, it may pull people from outside, even people who don't play pool. But that's really not something I can count on, and I don't count on it. I just want to make this interesting so it seems like it's worth paying the money for, because if it seems like it's worth it, it will be worth it, and the money will move.
Okay.
Well, for a long time, I've been looking at this and thinking of this idea because cities have something about them that people gather around, and the reason I thought this was the best way to go is because I'm from Pittsburgh originally, and I noticed in myself that every time I see a Steeler uniform, I want them to win. I don't care who's playing. I don't know who's playing. I know maybe one guy because I've heard of him. I don't care. I feel bad if they lose a Super Bowl, and I don't really give a crap about football. It's just there's something about this feeling that you got because you lived there, and that's your team. You just want to beat the other team from the other city, and I think that's something that pool could have because it doesn't really matter what the game is. There's a rivalry between cities already, New York and Boston. I don't care if it's ping pong or anything. If there's enough people who know about it, they'll root for their own city. They're not going to root for the other city. So that is a good thing in this system we're talking about. I didn't know what to expect because it was a new format, and these players know each other, but they never really were on a team. All of a sudden, they pulled together as a team like they want to beat these other guys, I mean, it was really thick, this idea of winning. They were competing to win. They spent a lot of time making sure every shot they did was what they wanted to do. And they liked the game because it gave them a chance to play different kinds of games. It gave them a chance to put a game against another guy that they knew wasn't that good at it. And it's a coaching game because the coach really has to decide on who's playing who and when, but the game came out great, and the finish is great. I mean, this will never happen again, this finish. So, not that you have to buy it for that, but there's an incredible finish in this game. And they want a rematch already. It is a coach's game, and it's something that has to be. You don't know who you're playing necessarily. You don't want to know. You want to, because one guy's going to come up from the other team, and then you put your own player up, and you have to really play them right. Because if you don't, you're going to lose. Every player can only win 3 games. So if you exhaust your best player in the beginning, he doesn't get a chance at the end to win for you. So I wanted that idea in it because in a tournament there's no strategy other than on each game when they're playing. There's no strategy of the game match as who to play and what. You don't get your choice of who you're playing. They just put you up against somebody else.
So you put up your player and the best games that he could play, whether that'll be 8-ball, 9-ball.
Well, you're going to have a choice of those. Yeah, I mean, all these guys play these well. It's not like they're bad at 8-ball or something, but some of them are specialists. You get a specialist at straight pull or a specialist at 10-ball. you know, they'll be happier when they are able to play that game. I decided that I would be able to produce these on 10% of the money from the pay-per-view, which means I'm going to give 90% of the money to the players. So if two teams are playing that night and they're in the pay-per-view game and they get money from, you know, we get money from the pay-per-view, I'll take 10% off the top for the production, and I'll split up the other 90%, 60-40, between the winners and losers. So the losers will make money too. It's just they won't make as much as the winners, and that will bring in a lot of competition. A lot of people have said this isn't possible. And the fact is, it's not. If you're going to use a production company, or you're going to use 20 guys on cameras and stuff like that. I don't do that. I produced 20 Sharks episodes for $800. So I'm willing to do this and make it work. It's just a matter of whether everybody else is willing to do it too, do their part. This would not happen if you had somebody with money coming in and bringing cameras and all that stuff. They're going to take 80% of the money or 90% themselves, because that's what it would cost to do this. So I want this to work. This is my idea. I'm going to make it work. And I have a way to make it work. I have a system that I've figured out how it will work. So all the other people that can't do this, sorry, but I understand why you can't. But this is going to work. I mean, on my side anyway. Whether it works on the buyer's side, whether people pay to see this, is another story. And if it doesn't work, it won't be my fault or the player's fault. It'll be the player's fault, you know, in total. They just won't be interested in the whole idea, and then it'll die. But hopefully it won't. Well, that's it. The IPT tour and all the other ones that promise everything. Now, a lot
you're
of
saying that you're promising nothing.
I'm not promising anything except if players spend money, I'm going to give it to other players. That's very simple. And there's, you know, I'll be checked and everything. It's not like I'm going to be secretive about it. The fact is that I understand that. You know, I've put a lot of things on AZ Billiards. It's a forum for pool players. And there's been a lot of flack about things. You know, they don't like this, they don't like that. But I actually don't blame them, because they've been used so much. And nobody ever gives them anything. So they get into a position where they're afraid to try anything, because they've been screwed so many times that they're like super sensitive to everything. Like, this is taking advantage of me and that's taking advantage. But it's true. They've been taken advantage of. Players don't get anything from sponsors most of the time. They get a cue stick, or, you know, they have to go out and sell it. I don't know what they do with this stuff. They get equipment. How much equipment can you get, you know, before your basement's full? You have to get money somehow, and you have to get enough of it to stay alive. Otherwise, you're going to work another job. And if you work another job, you're not going to be the best player you could be. And it's a cycle. that just drives you down. Everybody that I've heard talk about anything always moves towards, well, maybe ABC will pick it up or CBS and put it on their prime time. That's not going to happen. Forget it. They're not going to put pool on prime time. They're not. You can't even get it on cable, and if it is, it's on at 4 a.m. This has to be a closed system that depends on itself. You could have this system work where all these players make incredible amounts of money and nobody else knows about it. That's the whole point. There's enough players in the world and in this country that they could have their own system. It doesn't have to be predicated on somebody coming in with a lot of money and giving it to them. Nobody gives you money. The only way they give it to you is if they make 3 times back. And this, you don't have to. They don't have to do it. I mean, one way that I'm going to make money is try to get sponsors. And I don't know if sponsors are going to go for this, but they should, because the more money these guys make, the bigger the business will be and the bigger their business will be. So build up these players. Let them make a lot of money. Who cares what they make? If they make $10 million, that's wonderful, because someday you might. And then everybody will be looking to play pool. There'll be 1 million kids. There'll be pool rooms in the schools. So that's basically the idea, is to work from the ground up and not top down. Everybody I talk to with money always says, "What's in it for me? How can I make money?" And you can't. You can't give me money to be in this, because there's no way for me to give it back to you. It's all either going to the production or to the players. Every other system, they take the money first, and then whatever left over goes to the players. And it's usually players' money in big amounts, $100 at a time. You go to a tournament and you give them $100 and you play 2 games and you lose, you're out. And you have to pay for your gas going home, and do those tournaments. But save $9.95. That's what it is. Save $9.95 for your future.
Towards the players.
Right. 500 people watch, there's going to be a certain amount of money that goes to each player. 10,000 people watch, there'll be that much more. It'll be 20 times the money will go to each player. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. One other thing I want to do. I'm going to have an email address that people can send in their name, and we're going to pick them out of a hat. They'll tell us which team they'd like to play on. And every time that team plays, we're going to pick one person to play on the team. As long as they can get to the game and everything. I can't pay them because of legal problems, but they're going to be in the match. They're going to play the first game. So the pros on that team are going to be really helping them out. But they'll be able to get there. They'll be able to be around these guys, and it'll be fun. So, I guess to sum this up, if you have $9.95 laying around for your future, spend it. At least once, just to see what it's about. And give us a chance.